That's exciting. I've never done a YouTube podcast before, so this will be very exciting.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be good.
Yeah, so let's just jump right in, because you super intrigued me this morning with your coma story.
Okay, yeah. So about a year ago, I almost died. I had never had seizures before in my life, but I had 15 one day, and
Oh,
so
wow.
yeah, and so I had the seizures, and then my brother, he had brought me to the hospital, and because it was like weekend hours or something, they didn't have the staffing to be able to help me or something, so then they sent me to another hospital, and so then we went to the hospital, and I guess my brain was swelling. You know, they were like the brain waves were out of control, and my head wasn't like they almost needed to cut my head open just so that way the brain could keep expanding and it would be less pressure on my skull. But
Oh, wow.
yeah, but so what they ended up doing though was they just put me into a medically induced coma, and
Mm-hmm.
so I was in that for 3 weeks, and I was having these incredibly vivid dreams, and I swear I thought all of them were true when I woke up, and it was crazy.
What kind of dreams were they?
Well, I mean, I had one dream where I had gotten married, and so I thought I was actually married to this girl in real life, and then I asked her about it, and she was like, "What do you think?" And I was like, I don't know what I think." And turns out we weren't actually married, but yeah. And then I had some other dreams where, like, I was having this party at a hotel room, and it was my 21st birthday, but I was almost 23 when this was going on. And so, anyways, it was going to be my 21st birthday, and then I had invited a bunch of people up, and then the room started like getting trashed, and I just kept telling myself everything works out in the end. And then eventually, like within the dream, it started just manifesting itself to fixing the problem, to where like the people came back who had trashed it and completely cleaned up the place, and it was just absolutely amazing. And then I started to realize that if you see it in your mind, like you'll be able to see it before your eyes. And yeah, so anyways, I woke up out of the coma. It was about 3 weeks I was in it, and I had lost 30 pounds. I was paralyzed on the left side of my body, but I didn't realize it at the time. And so, yeah. And so they had brought me to a rehab center to teach me to walk again. The first night there, the doctor had told me it was going to be at least a few months and probably a year if, before I can leave. And I told him that I was going to be home next week. And he was laughing at me. He was like, I have no clue where you're getting that idea from. It's going to be at least a couple months, and then we'll talk about it. And so, I said, well, no offense, doctor, but you don't know me. I'm going to be home next week. And I kid you not, a week to that day, I was home. And it was literally the next morning, I was able to move the left side of my body again. And I didn't even realize that it was paralyzed until they told me. Like, I stretched up one day, reached back, and I just touched the pillow behind me. And then, everyone started freaking out. They called the doctors in, nurses in. They had me do it again. And then they were like, oh my God, wow. And I'm like, I guess I have some flexibility, but I really don't think it's that impressive. And they're like, you don't understand. You couldn't move that arm before. And I was like, oh, really? And they're like, yeah. So, yeah, I
You were
don't.
completely unaware.
What?
You were completely unaware
I was.
that you were.
Yeah, I had no idea that I was paralyzed on my left side. Like, no idea at all. And I think that's probably why it was so much easier for me to start walking again. And,
Oh, yeah.
because like I saw it that that was going to happen, that was going to be the result, and I knew I was going to make it home. And so while I was in there, I really like took advantage of the system. They had this bed alarm that would go off every time I would move, and so then the nurses would come in and make sure I'm alive and okay and all that, and then shut it off. And so like I wasn't able to move on my own without that going off. So what I started doing was I watched them shut it off, and then that way I was able to shut it off, next time that it went off. And then I just started rehabbing myself and walking around on my own. And I mean, in that week, I must have taken, 30, 40 trips to the bathroom that they had no idea about.
Wow.
And then they, there was one day they had caught me. I was sitting in a chair, and I was working on what's called dorsiflexion, which is pretty much just like lifting your toe up. And I knew that that was a part for walking that I really needed to work on with that side of my body. And so anyways, I was working on that, and then the nurse came in and asked me, like, how did you get there? And I was like, I'm really not sure. Ever since the coma, I've been having a hard time remembering, and I don't know. I just get from point A to point B, and then you guys usually just fill me in on what's going on. And then they thought that I was actually serious, and so they started having all kinds of people asking me questions, like testing my memory and all kinds of stuff. But I made it out, in 1 week, and it. I'm really happy about it because it showed me like how much potential that our mind actually has.
Our brain power.
Our brain.
I don't even realize.
Yeah. Yeah. Believing in yourself
so much
is at least
conviction,
half of it. Yeah.
So much conviction to like get out of there. Like in a week, and your doctor laughed at you, and you still did it. Like somehow you overcame that.
Right.
That's just amazing.
Yeah.
Super amazing. So you left the hospital and you're back home after a week. And
Yeah.
what is inspiring you at this point?
Well, at this point, what I really am focused on is helping people to be happier and helping the world be a happier place. So I've been doing some speaking gigs here and there. I've been doing some YouTube videos. I've been making content. And I really just want to help as many people as I can to be happier, because we're not meant to just live, we're meant to live well.